Hi, I'm going to show you here how to make an XY scatter plot using Excel. The first thing that we need to do, obviously, is to set up our data table. And we have done so in columns. Remember that what is plotted on the x-axis is in the left-hand column, and what is plotted on the y-axis is in the right-hand column. Now, one thing to be aware of is that you cannot put units on your numbers. Excel does not like that and will not plot the graph. Put your units in the header labels on your columns, but do not attach them to your numbers. All right, now we just select the data that we're going to plot. Go up to the top and find Insert. Click on that. Click on Chart. And it will bring up a menu with the different types of charts. We want to find XY scatter. And choose the XY scatter that does not have lines. We're going to do some curve fitting, so we don't want any extraneous lines. And we have a graph, and it's postage stamp size. So what we're going to do is enlarge this so it makes it easier to work on and see. Now what I like to do is delete this legend over here and give us more room. Okay, now you notice that we have a title here, which is the default Y column header. We can fix that. We also don't have any labels on our X and Y axes. But before we fiddle with that, we're going to fit our curve to our graph. So what we want to do is put a cursor over any of your data points, it doesn't matter which one, and then right click. This will bring up a menu. Go down and choose Add Trend Line. Once we have that, look for type if it's not already selected. And by default, Excel will always start by trying to fit a linear regression line, and since this is a linear relationship, that's already done. We will be doing graphs using a logarithmic or a polynomial, and to choose those, you just click on the little pictures. So we'll go back here and go back to our linear graph. The other thing we want to do is in the options, click on the little box that says display equation and display r squared. And then we're done with that. Just close that out. Okay, now to fix the titles and the axes labels, this is going to depend on which version of Excel you're using. On Windows, you'll find a tab labeled Layout. On the Mac here that I'm using, go up to Toolbox, and this brings up a little palette where I can change the chart title, and we'll call this Temp versus Time for the horizontal axis. That's our time in minutes. And for the y-axis, that's our temp in degrees centigrade. And so that fixes that. And now we have a nice graph, properly labeled. Okay, now what if we need to fit another series of data on the same graph? I'll show you how you do that. I'll get rid of this graph, and we'll look for some data to grab. Here's some data to grab. So we'll move this over here. Yep, that's okay. Just overwrite that for now. And what we do again is now select all three columns to make our graph. Go back up here to our XY scatter without the lines. Click on that, and there we have our graph plotting both series. Make this bigger so you can see that. That's how we would do that. And you can fiddle with the titles and the labels. One other trick, if you're making two separate graphs, you do not need to make two separate files. If you go down here and notice this tab called Sheet, and there's a plus sign here, if I want to make another graph in the same file, I just click on this and voila, I have another sheet, and I can make a separate graph and save that to a single file. I hope this helps.